time to fuel your business success. Welcome to Harmonious at Lunch. We're bringing you bite-sized advice and expert conversations to drive clarity and growth 5 days a week. Make sure you join our Facebook group at humanopt.com/lunch, where listeners like you and our guests hang out so we can find harmony in business together. If you're building a business, you're in the right place. Let's dive in.
Welcome back to some more Harmonious at Lunch. Today, we're talking scaling your business, simplicity, flat fee models, employee benefits, so many things in 15 minutes. Let's see if we can get it all done. I don't know, but I got a special guest with me, Joel Miller. Welcome to the show, and thank you for being here.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
I'm excited about this. So you have an interesting topic here. We were talking before we started recording. You have kind of gone the opposite way of your industry in what I assume is a way to stand out. I'm sure it's got a million other benefits, but you're in the financial industry. You have a flat fee model. And what you explained was that most people in that industry have a percentage model. So the more you make, the more you give away to more people. And who doesn't want to just give away all their money to financial planners, right? I mean, why take this approach, Joel? Why'd you do this?
Absolutely. I wanted to be different. I wanted to change the world. I want to be on the Mount Rushmore when it comes to flat fee, fixed rate financial planning, right? There's so many other people.
Just to be clear,
well, there's going to be one. I'm trying to get one started.
Okay.
And maybe if I start it, they'll just put me on it like as a thank you. I wanted to be different because I'm just not going to accept how it's been a percentage this whole time. Someone's got to flip that upside down, right? I think it is time. And you know the other reason? Because traditional financial advisors only want to work with the affluent, the high net worth, or the ultra high net worth. What about all those people in the mass affluent? Some of those people need financial planning more, and they deserve it more than anyone else. But yet it's really, really hard to get those people the help that they need, whether it's like a simple subject, a complex, they still have questions, but yet they're the ones that grind and work the hardest. And they don't get to teach their kids what like the high net worth gets to teach their kids, right? So I'm just really passionate about this industry.
Yeah, I love it. And quite frankly, I mean, those are the people who either are listening or work for those people listening. I mean, I had a company where my employees, definitely did not have financial planners. They didn't have access to that advice. I always try to do my part as a business owner to sort of educate them. Like, listen, I'm paying you this much money. You can't go spend all of that on video games and I don't know, food. Like you have to invest for your future and actually plan for these things. But there's only so much I can do because I'm not an expert where you are. So what drew you to this end of the market? Because when you're going through your training, when you're coming out of school, whenever you're making this decision, I mean, you were probably taught that you wanted to go for the high net worth. That's where the money was. What was the decision for you?
They're underserved. And frankly, I grew up that way. My parents were never wealthy. We were very frugal. We used coupons, and that's like where I really came from. So now being in this space, I want to get back to like how I grew up and relate with those people. And I still think about that way for my own personal finances. So there's no one that I love working with more. I get to serve a lot of people and I get to celebrate a lot of things with a lot of people in different walks of life. But the earlier we can start teaching this stuff and the more we can teach it to the mass affluent. And you know why this is so cool for business owners that have employees in that space is because it trickles back up to the employer. Through indirect and direct correlation, they might be harder workers. They might produce better results. When you raise the financial literacy of your employees, you're going to you're going to be able to reap the rewards of the time and effort that went into that.
Yeah, it's huge. It's a really good point too. It's something that probably most business owners don't consider. And I would actually say that I've heard some people talk about the negative effects of raising financial literacy. Now, this is crazy to me, but hear me out. And I'm curious if you ever hear this in conversations with people. If their employees become financially literate, they will look for higher paying jobs. Have you heard that? And what do you say about it?
Yeah, I can see that perspective. I can see where that's coming from. But I think as every good employer should say, they want to raise the best employees. And if you see that capacity, if you have an employee who can do that, I just think you should go all in on that person. Maybe that means giving them the raise. Maybe that means giving them a promotion or making a position to keep the employees you want. That's why employee benefits are so important. Their sole purpose is to maintain talent, to keep those people, to stand out to your competitors. If you're afraid of raising the financial literacy of your employees because you think they're going to go somewhere else, well, then do everything you can to keep them. Those are the people that you want. You don't want the average, most like mundane person. You want those overachievers and you want to keep them. You want to do anything you can to make sure they don't leave and go somewhere else.
Yeah, it's a great answer. And honestly, I don't know why people think that way. But your answer's spot on, right? Like invest in your people and help them become better overall human beings. Like they're not there just to do a job. They're there to invest in them and they will invest back in you, like you said. So
that's the
great
best part about being
mentality.
an employer, right?
Yeah.
That you get to literally not only change the lives of your customers, you get to have a lifelong trickle impact on generations of families. And how cool is that? I think like that's again why you'd want to hire people is to invest in them, to grow them, to make them the best version of themselves. And then hopefully you can like have an impact on their kids and their grandkids. That's why we do what we do.
Hopefully that's why we do
Hopefully.
what we do. I know anyone listening to this show is definitely in that camp because that's what we're all about here. It's about the human side of business. So yeah, we definitely resonate with that mentality. I'm curious about your business though, because in a world where the more you make for your clients, right, the percentage model, the less you kind of have to work. You're on a flat fee, so you're really on it's not even a performance-based model, but if you don't get the results and you don't do this at scale, you don't make money. It's not about having a few clients making a lot. You need probably a larger number of clients to be successful. So how does that work from a business model perspective? How are you growing your model? How are you scaling and making sure that you have the capacity to service your clients at a very high level, also bring on new clients and not burn yourself out in the process?
Yeah, I think that's the beauty of the challenge. Why would I want to settle for impacting 50 lives? If I could invest in 5,000, 10,000, I accept scale. I accept the challenge because that means that we're going to have a broader impact on a whole lot more people. So we embrace that. We want that. And that's, again, why we do it that way. Because as you said, most traditional financial planners, they want to go find the wealthiest of the wealthy. They want to have the smaller the book size typically means more success. If you have 20 clients, you might be more successful than 50 clients. We want to have as many clients as possible. We want to scale as much as we can because that means we are changing the most amount of lives, which at the end of the day is why we run our business this way. Why I started this business is to have a big impact on those people who I think deserve it the most. So what that really looks like for me is packaging an amazing service that provides high level, that's easy to implement for employers. All they have to do is say, yes, they want to be a client. We can roll this out to all of their employees. And guess what they get? High level financial planning, high level investment management. Typically, those are only services offered to people who have 500,000 or a million or more. And also, you get a yearly tax filing done by a tax pro and also an estate plan. How crazy is that? That it's an easy packaged implemented service. Employers just say, yeah, I want to beef up my benefits package. I want to stand out. I want to have something that my competitors don't have. And it's as easy as that. All they have to do is say yes, and we take care of all their employees.
That's super interesting. So it's a package, which means hopefully it's efficient as well. So if you have a client, let's say they have 50 employees,
Yeah.
what does that rollout process look like? What's the time involved from the client? What's the time involved from you and your team? I'm curious how the logistics behind how you make this all work.
Yeah. What it really looks like is just making sure it's the right fit company. Do you want to provide this sort of service for your employees? And if that's a yes, if we align on, hey, this is what I want to do. I want to help all of your employees be the best financial version of themselves. I want to help them with goal setting. I want to help them with discipline. I want to help them with a long-term thinking. I hope that every employer would say, yeah, of course that's what I want. as we talked about earlier, not everyone does. So got to make sure that it's the right fit business. Got to make sure that our goals, our objectives for your employees also line up with yours as well. It's also not like a free service. So we need to make sure that, hey, is this a service that you can afford? It's something that you can write off because it's an employee benefit, which is great. So that's another win for the employer. And what that really looks like is signing a contract, setting up the invoice, and then I reach out to all of your employees. I introduce myself, I get them on my calendar, we take care of them. We start the planning process from day one as soon as they are an active paying client of Flames Financial Planning. So it's an easy rollout, very, very minimal lift, almost nothing that the company themselves need to do. We just need to make sure it's the right fit business, and then it's a great business model.
Now, do you plug into that company's payroll system, or what does that look like? Is this all after
nothing
payroll?
to do there? This is all after payroll. This is all something that it's a B2B relationship with the employer. And as soon as that's set up, then we're good to go. And then I can take care of the rest. It's my job to provide so much value to those employees that they would be super upset if the employer ever decided to not offer that as a benefit package within their service. So it's just the same as like everything else. It's like, hey, some of these are, this specific thing doesn't really exist yet, but a lot of them are coming out with like, hey, we want to make sure that you're mentally taken care of. So those got really popular as like a benefits package. Same thing with this. It's time that employers start caring about their employees' financial literacy and financial wellness. So I wanted to take this comprehensive service that's typically only really been accessible to the ultra high net worth. And I wanted to create something that had never been done before that could be offered to the mass affluent class, because the employer can afford to pay this as a tax deductible expense, and they can offer it to change the life of this mass affluent class that probably would really never get access to this sort of knowledge or teaching unless offered through the employer.
I love it. Are you allowed to tell me what the cost is? You've mentioned the cost. If you want to keep it secret, that's fine. But I'm curious. It's flat rate. What does it cost?
Yeah, it's affordable. I wanted to make sure, look, I'm not in this for the money, which sounds ironic, but I want to change the world. So I wanted to do that for like an approachable cost. It's $3,600 per year per seat. So depending on the amount of employees, there's no maximum. There's not really a minimum. So as long as you can afford the service and you have enough revenue to add this to your expenses as an employer, $3,600 per seat, everything's included. There's not things it's not like this a la carte service that you can plug in or out. It's a simple, affordable model that it's easy to plug in and apply to your benefits package.
Yeah, I think that's like, it's one of those things where if you look at it by itself and you say, 10 employees, $3,600 a year is going to be $36,000. However, if you look at it on top of your employee's salary, then it starts to make a whole lot more sense. It's almost like giving that person a bonus. Is that how you paint that picture? And how do you really explain the ROI? Or do you have stories of ROI from actual employees that you've worked with?
Yeah, I would say it's probably a combination, right? My goal is that I mentioned this earlier, but when I am having these life-changing conversations with the employees, this might be the first time they've ever heard of a high yield account, and we can actually get a little bit of a yield on their cash. This is probably the first time that they've never done their own tax return. This is most likely the first time they're creating their very first estate plan, even though they might have 4 kids. These are life-changing conversations. And what I always recommend is, hey, survey your employees. Were they happy with the service or not? And if they say no, that's my fault. I didn't do a good enough job. So it does have to make sense. The business does need to have enough revenue to afford an additional expense. But like what I typically argue is it's a lot cheaper than giving them a pay raise. And it's a lot more predictable because it's a fixed rate. So that's what how I would answer that question is like, this is very new. This doesn't really exist right now. But if you give it a year and you try out the service, I don't think you'll regret it. But it's my job to make sure that they continue as a client.
Yeah, of course, which makes complete sense and is obviously your job, right? You want to retain clients for as long as possible, but you also want to get the benefit for all of the employees involved, which obviously you do. But I'm curious if you have any stories of what have the actual people benefiting from the service said, because what I find is a lot of times, so we go in and consult with businesses as a fractional COO, so we're more concerned with the operations and the people, are they in the right seats and doing the right roles. If you have someone that's concerned with their personal finances, they are in a state of fight or flight at all times. It doesn't matter what kind of wellness programs you give them. It doesn't matter what kind of raises you give them. If they have not figured out how to manage and mentally manage their finances, they are not going to perform at a high level. So talk to me about that. Have you seen any sort of those transformations where people now just understand their finances better and they're just more relaxed and more confident in their roles?
100%. And there's nothing that feels better than when a employee or a one-on-one relationship client says, you have no idea how much better I sleep at night. Or I feel this weight lifted off of my back because I don't have to worry about these things anymore. When you have unlimited access to a financial planner, there's no such thing as a dumb question. The dumb question is the one you didn't ask. So I tell people small questions, big questions, anything you can think of. Imagine an on-demand financial planning service where your employees can ask anything they want. Those are typically the people who are too afraid and don't talk to their parents about it. Don't talk to their you might talk to your coworker and get some questionable advice here or there. But when you know that someone is looking out for you, someone has an extra pair of eyes, or you can get another perspective on something. Should I do this? Should I not do this? Should I enroll in this other benefit package? Which health option should I choose? All of the cogs start spinning more efficiently, right? Because as you mentioned, if there's a little hiccup, every area of your life is affected. Your physical fitness, your impact at work. I believe everything kind of rises with the tide or also falls with the tide. So if we can raise their financial wellness, I do believe that we'll have a direct and indirect impact on how they run as a human.
All right, Joel, tell me where to sign. How do I get your face carved on Mount Rushmore of flat fee financial planning? I'm convinced.
If you're an employer and you are ready to upgrade your benefits package, it's time, right? There is now a model that you can implement into your service. So I would love to meet you. I would love to hear about your business model. I would love to talk about if this is the right thing for not only you, but you and your employees, right? So if you're ready to raise the financial literacy, if you want to make a generational impact, then let's have a conversation about it. I'd love to meet you. You can book time on my calendar at flamesfp.com. And I will even throw my work number out there because it's 2025 and I'm a big fan of texting. So I know business owners are really busy. So don't have to have a extremely long conversation about it. But if you want to say hi, hello, if you're listening, and if this impacted you, if you took away something from this, send me a text at 952-300-9632. I can't wait to meet you and tell you more about this.
I love it, Joel. If you're listening, the link is on the screen. It's down below in the show notes. Joel's number will be down there as well. You could send him a text, reach out. Joel, thanks so much for being here.
Absolute pleasure. Everyone is changing the game out there, and I'm proud of you for doing it. Keep it up.
And I love it. For those of you watching, listening, you know where to find the links, all the information. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed this episode too, and it gave you a new look at what you can do to serve your employees and help grow a company that cares more about the human than anything else. That's going to be the company that wins in this age. And I hope to see you back for more episodes of Harmonious Lunch tomorrow. See you then.
Another episode of Harmonious at Lunch in the books. I hope this episode made you think and you grabbed some actionable ideas to propel your business. Don't forget to like, comment your takeaways, and subscribe wherever you're listening so we can help more entrepreneurs just like you achieve harmony in your life and business. For cutting-edge tools that bring clarity to your people and processes, check out humanoff.com to download our app today. See you next time.